Hi, class. Before we start my last story, I want to talk about winter sports and the teams that won trophies. Uh, the sixth grade boys basketball team won trophies. Sixth grade girls soccer team won trophies. Our seventh grade girls soccer team won trophies. They went 3 seasons and never lost a game. The plaques, the Christian of the Court and the Christian of the Field plaques, will be given out for all the winter sports. 8th grade awards will be given out at the 8th grade luncheon on Thursday, June 11th. This will include Iron Man, Iron Woman, Christian of the Court, Christian of the Field, male and female athlete of the year, and everyone will get their team pictures if they were on one of the teams. Also, the winter sports for the younger kids, their team pictures will be given out too. I don't know when we're going to do this, but I'll let you know next week what we decide to do, how we're going to hand them out, okay? Now to my story. I hate thinking about this because there was a time that I almost lost my life, and I'm going to tell you about what happened. Once I got married during the summer after teaching, I worked for this company called A&R Cement Contractors, and we did a lot of refurbishing on these car washes. And one thing we did was to put a reclamation tank. A reclamation means to reclaim. So after cars went through the car wash, the water came and would go into this tanks in different sections, and then they would reuse the water after it got clean. So that one day we were doing a reclamation tank, and what we did was the thing was about 24 feet long, only 4 feet wide, and 8 feet high. So the day before we had all the forms in and we poured it, but we were having trouble on the one end because the car wash kept leaking into where the cement was being poured and things like that. The way we poured it, we poured the 4 walls with cement, and then after we took the forms out, then we put the walls in between and the floor in. Which is not the safest thing, especially when the side we were having trouble with, we just poured more concrete in there, and there were spots that were maybe a foot to 18 inches thick and 8 feet high. So my job was, and there was one other high school senior with me, and we were taking the forms out. And the funny thing was that every time we took one of the bracing along the side, it was really hard to get out, and you could feel the pressure on each board. But we kept going and took it all off. And then we got to where we took all the boards that were supporting, but the forms are still there. So now then they took the backhoe and hooked onto each form and pulled it up. There were like big sheets of plywood, and we pulled all them out. And I looked up at the wall. I was right in the center of this thing, so there was 12 feet that way and 12 feet the other way. And my boss was standing over me, and I said, "There's a crack in the wall, and it's getting bigger." And he says, "Run." So I had to make a choice, either run to the right or left. the high school kid, I told him to get out of the hole as fast as he could, and he was running towards the left, so I ran with him. I had big, heavy boots on because it was all wet down on the floor. And as I was running, the walls behind me started caving in. And they were caving in, and the weak side came right over to the other. So there was no room. And the concrete was massive, thick. It would crush anything coming at him. And as I ran to the high school kid, I noticed that he was trying to get out. I grabbed him by his boots and threw him out. And then there was this big guy, muscles on top of muscles, had his hand in, but he was in a state of shock. And I ran to the little corner there was about a foot, and I pleaded with him to get me out of the hole, but he just was standing there looking like anything. So I jumped up on the wall and I started grabbing the top of the wall, but my fingers were all bleeding, and I figured this is it because the walls kept crushing. I was stuck I was in the corner, and all of a sudden there was this complete calm. I was very calm, and it was odd, like this is my end. That's what I thought. And I just, in amazement, I was just standing there ready to get crushed to death. When finally the other guy came over, and they grabbed me and pulled me right up out of the hole, but my boots and everything were still in the thing. And when I got out there, I looked back, and there was no spot in the entire 24 feet that wasn't crushed, except for the spot that I was in, that very little corner. That was the only spot that was, I don't know why God decided to let me live, but thank God he did. My brother was inside. My brother and I worked. We both were teachers, and we worked in the summer together. And a guy ran in and said, "Hey, the wall caved in on your brother." And my brother Pat thought I was dead. So he comes running out and everything and looking for me in the smashed rubble. And he was amazed that I was still alive. And he ran over to me, and I said, "Let's go home. I can't." I was still so shook up about the whole thing. Every time I think about it, I get very shook up about it. It was unbelievable. And I guess God had a reason why he let me live. So since that day on, I've always tried to do my best to help people and things like that. I got a treat for you right now, so just relax for a second. I moved into this house 2 years ago, and I've been working on the backyard for 2 years. So one day I told Coach T and Mrs. Brennan that part of my backyard fantasy was my fairy garden, and I'd like to show everybody that. And so give me a minute, and then I'll turn the camera around, and we'll take a little tour of my backyard. Here's the latest addition, the pickleball court. And there's my retaining walls. I started that for 9 months. I built these walls. They're all tiered and everything like that. And right here's my fire pit, and I built this the deck, a very large deck, There's my putting green. And the wall goes on and on. My wife timed me, and she said that I did 17 brick an hour. And that's why it took me so long to do it. And right here is the famous fairy garden. There it is. There's the stump. It goes on and on. Well, there you have it.